All right, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. Hump day. I'm getting out on the Hunter 350 for a work commute today. Have to go all the way to the far side of downtown. One of my least favorite places to go, but at least if I ride, you know, it's a little bit more fun. The Hunter has been upgraded. It's got a couple of new additions to it. The Michelin Road 6 tire has been installed on the front. I'm still waiting on the rear to be delivered, or to come back in stock, actually. I'm just on a waiting list right now. So it should be in the last part of October, so maybe just before the beginning of November I'll get the Road 6 put on the rear. But I'm very anxious to get out on the highway with this today. The original Seat, C-E-A-T tire, however you pronounce that, is crap. I hate it on these highways here in Houston because we've got a lot of grooved concrete highways, and that original tire had a circumferential groove right around the center of it, and man, did that thing track those grooves terribly. It's just head shaking and wandering all over the road. It's awful. So this ought to be a huge improvement. The original one is still on the rear for now, but hopefully that'll be replaced soon. I also put some EBC double H pads on the front rotor there when I had the wheel off of it, so those are brand new. I've got to bed them in. Need to be a little careful today until that's fully bedded in. I scotch brighted the rotor with brake cleaner and green Scotch Brite pad to remove any residue from the old pads. So this is going to be a full bedding in procedure of these new centered copper. So anyway, the star of the show today is the Coffman's exhaust. Check that out. Oh yeah, man, good stuff. Did the install video of that yesterday. I haven't edited or posted that yet. That's going to be coming soon. Did a quick live stream last night, just doing a Q&A with everybody to kind of show it off and give some little sound bites and all that. But yeah, excellent stuff. The other piece that you can't see is under the seat, and I'm not going to remove the seat right now to show you, but hiding right under there somewheres, right in there. Hey, you probably see that little green light flashing. That is the FuelX Lite that I installed on here because I'm now running the DNA Stage 2 intake and a custom exhaust. So those two combined could potentially cause the bike to run a bit too lean, and I don't want to run into problems like that. So anywho, FuelX is going to augment the fuel situation and hopefully improve rideability. Not that it had any problems before, but you know, once you start messing with your intake and exhaust, you can run into all kinds of problems. So anyway, I'm going to get this on the road. I've got to go all the way out to the east side of downtown, over off of Lockwood. One of my least favorite places of town to go, but you got to do what you got to do, right? Yeah, the pads aren't bedded in at all. We got to really mash that lever. Hopefully by the end of the ride today, they'll be worked in. Bumped my mirror last night. It's out of whack. Oh man, I love the sound of this Coffman's. It sounds excellent on this bike. It's very deep and throaty, but it's not obnoxiously loud. And I haven't reviewed all of my recording footage yet that I did yesterday, but just from quick recall memory, as I was doing the sound comparisons and the dB readings with my meter, I was recording with the Zoom H5, and then I had a read SPL meter next to it. The read was showing that this Coffman's is actually a bit quieter at idle than the factory exhaust. I may have my numbers wrong, but I think it was about a dB or two quieter. And then mid-range was about the same, maybe a touch louder, and red line was almost identical. So this is not any louder than the factory exhaust. It just has a different, deeper tone to it. And more importantly, it doesn't have the huffy sound, kind of a, I don't know, huffy, hissy sound to it that I didn't like about the factory exhaust. What it was about the factory exhaust, the fact that it has these it's like a mechanical baffle. It's not a packed exhaust or anything like that. So it's set up more like an automotive muffler, where you have an inlet tube and then that's offset with a backing plate, you know, toward the end of the exhaust, and you got a perforated core or two, you know, so it's a staggered arrangement to kind of slow down the exhaust pulses, but it's not a traditional, like a straight through exhaust or anything like this would be. So this just has a better sound to it, in my opinion. It's not huffy or hissy or anything like that, and the other one, the factory exhaust, just had kind of a, I don't know, an unusual quality to it that I didn't care for. So I haven't had this thing out running hard yet. I just ran it around the block last night. That was about it. And I'll be interested to see how it behaves out on the highway. I'm not really noticing any difference in, you know, low speed, low RPM performance or responsiveness. It's just, you know, it's about the same as it was. The apparently the Meteor 350 and the Classic 350 have a more leisurely throttle map to them that makes the low end feel a little bit sluggish. I don't know if it has problems with wanting to sputter and die or anything like that, but it's just not as responsive. So the Hunter already has an upgraded throttle map, and apparently when you put this FuelX Lite on the Classic or the Meteor, it makes a huge difference in bottom end performance and rideability. I'm not really noticing any drastic differences here, but it didn't have any low end stumbles or problems to begin with. So take that for what it's worth, with no real miles on it to form an opinion yet. It's just seat of the pants. It doesn't really feel different. Now, the one thing I am a little concerned about is the fuel economy. I don't know if that's going to be affected negatively. I'm sure it probably will to some extent, because you know, you're putting more fuel in the engine. So chances are the fuel economy could go down, but I would hope that, all things being equal, just steady state running on the highway, roughly the same speeds, it should be the same or potentially slightly more efficient now, because it's breathing better. So, you know, ideally it's straining less and it should be more efficient, but we'll find out. It's not always the case. Sometimes it's an inverse relationship because you're running it harder. So no footer, no footer, no footer, no footer, no footer. If these people will wake up, no footer, no footer. No footer, made it. Taking it easy until this tire scrubs in. It's a brand new front tire, and I got brand new front brakes, so careful there. Zoom, zoom. This guy's in a real hurry, putting his emergency flashes on, trying to tell people to get out of his way. Running 80 on the access road. Okay, whatever. I'm going to need to get over there, people. It's got more pull than it used to, so I'm definitely up a couple of ponies. I can feel it at higher RPM like this. definitely it's pulling better than it used to. So it's breathing better. That could also be a function of the FuelX feeding it a bit more fuel, so we'll find out. I'm starting off with pretty much a fresh tank of fuel, so this will be interesting to see how the fuel economy goes with my normal commute routine here. 65, 70 indicated is usually where I keep it on most of these runs. When traffic is being real fast and aggressive, then I'll turn it up to 75 or so indicated. But I usually try to cruise along between 65 to 70 indicated. That's about 62 to 67 actual. And that's been yielding above 80 mile per gallon efficiency, so that's good. The exhaust isn't any louder, to my ear anyway, than the original. So this Coffman's is not obnoxious at freeway speeds, as it's been on all my other bikes. It's got a really good sound to them. Deep and throaty without being obnoxious. And that truck is throwing rocks. I hope that doesn't hit this camera. Wave this guy by so I don't have to keep up. Just run 70 and be happy. Let all these crazy cagers go speeding and grab their own tickets. I don't want one. I don't need it. Save my money for upgrades on the bikes. Now I'm just not even straining right now to run 75. I didn't realize I was going that fast. 75 indicated. Actual is going to be a little bit lower than that. I haven't done a top speed run official. When I took this thing out to San Antonio area this past weekend, I was running with fast traffic and I had it up to an indicated 85. It wasn't there very long, but I don't treat that as a true top speed run. Oh, that thing just loosened up. I'm gonna put it in my pocket right now. Oh my god, that just came loose. Gotta watch these things. Let's shut that off. And it goes in the pocket. It just loosened up. I had the little base as tight as it could possibly go, but it just started bobbleheading around. That would be bad. Lose a $400 camera on the highway. 500 almost. And I can't get the zipper. Just tuck it deep into that pocket. Anyway, well, I'm glad I just saw that thing bobbleheading around. I tightened that thing up as tight as it would go. Nice. Jack off. I have a cage for that as well. Probably I'll put that quick release back on the bottom of it, of that case, with red Loctite. And just leave it that way permanently. So I'll be getting into the groove pavement section, and I'm eager to see if just the front tire by itself has fixed the bizarre tracking nonsense. I'm sure it has. These Michelin Road series are fantastic on all surfaces. Wet, dry, groove pavement, whatever. Now, you get them in sand or soft surfaces, mud, you know, they're not going to do good at all. Of course, but they're not designed for that. They don't have any block tread to them. So for all of the people out there that like quiet motorcycles or quiet exhausts, whenever I put on these Coffman's exhausts or do any changes, they're always like, no, it should be quiet and you're just disturbing the peace and all that. There's a lot of different schools of thought on that. The whole loud pipe saves lives thing, I'm not really I don't subscribe to that. I'm not a proponent, but certain bikes, having slightly louder exhaust just fits their character, you know. And in the case of the Hunter here, the Coffman's is really no louder than the factory exhaust, the OEM. So it's not like I'm taking a quiet bike and making it louder. This is a different tone, bassier sound. It's more throaty, more hearty sounding. But the overall sound pressure level in dB is not much higher. It's probably just about the same. I still need to review those stats, but it's not any more out of place or annoying than the factory exhaust was. It's smaller, looks better, and it's 5 pounds lighter, so that's a bonus. And I'm sure it flows better air too, because it's straight through without those offset baffle chambers. So it should present less back pressure to the engine. Yeah, I'm intentionally trying to ride the seam right here. These tires are not dragging around doing anything crazy like the original one was. Right here I would just be annoyed and fighting it over the groove pavement. This Michelin front fixed the problem completely. The rear didn't have that circumferential groove in it, so it wasn't as responsible for the bad manners as that front tire was, for sure. Now, obviously I'm still going to put the Michelin rear on there. I love Michelins for the silica blend. They're excellent on wet pavement. They got very good water dispersion. I think this original tires on here, the Seats, would be long-lived tires. They're very hard compound. They're probably going to be 15 or 20,000 mile tires on this bike, I would estimate. But yeah, railroad car steel wheels are also long-lived, but they don't have traction for shit. I don't want to ride with those on my motorcycle. I'd rather have some decently grippy compound that doesn't wear itself out as fast as sport tires, you know. I don't want to eat through them in 3,000 miles, but I'd much rather have something that's kind of in the middle range there that gives you good grip and reasonable life expectancy, both for the bike and yourself. Yeah, the front tire was so misbehaved on this thing, I was considering installing a steering damper on here just to minimize that oscillation and head shake, but the tire was the culprit. I still might put a universal steering damper on this one day. I doubt that it's going to have any problem with head shake. It doesn't have a steep enough steering rake like a sport bike to warrant that, I don't think. And I'm not going to be pulling wheelies on this thing, so chances of me lifting the front wheel and setting it back down wrong and then getting into an oscillation are pretty slim. I have new rear shocks coming for this thing soon. They should be here, I'm hoping, this week. I ordered them from Baxter Cycle, and those guys are real quick with their shipping normally. My order is still stuck in the processing state, so I'm concerned that maybe those Diablo shocks are on back order. The K-Speed Diablos is what I got. And they said that they were in stock when I ordered, and that's the reason that I chose Baxter. But I don't know, maybe they're out of stock and I've got to wait for shipping times, who knows. Getting out from behind this guy, he's throwing way too much stuff off the road. His mud flaps are not low enough or something. Just pelting me and I'm tired of it.
They feeling you good?
No. I can get it up off the road.